Card King, here I come. Hello, sports fans, sports collectors, and all hobbyists. Welcome to the Card King Sports and Variety Show. I'm your host, the Catman, Brian Cataquet, a.k.a. the Card King. We are live on ABC's KMET 1490am.com. Your number one spot right here for news and talk on the West Coast. Thank you so much for being with us this morning. On the telephone line, I welcome in a former Major League Baseball world champion and now founder of Zone Motion, Kansas City Royals, Buddy Biancalana. Buddy, Brian C., thank you so much for your time this morning.
Good morning, Brian. How you doing?
Oh, very well. Thanks for your time. Let's begin. Buddy, let's talk a little bit about your love for baseball. How did that love begin for you?
Well, I had a father. I grew up in the Northern California area, in the Bay Area, Marin County, and I had a father who just loved baseball. He's a huge fan, wasn't a great player, but was in the stock and bond business and was able to get out of the office fairly early, being on the West Coast, and was able to fulfill a lot of his passion and spend time playing with me. So it got my interest in going and started playing as a young boy, 5 and 6, with a plastic ball and a plastic bat. And that was kind of what catapulted me to really loving the game and taking it as far as I could take it.
And, Buddy, I can imagine being a pro baseball player is all that you ever wanted to be, and you accomplished this goal, which, only millions can, dream of doing.
Well, I was fortunate. I had some ability, and I just loved it. It certainly wasn't a job for me in the early years, and I had a great passion for it. At a young age, at 5 years old, I remember asking my mom, or she tells me the story that, do I play for the Dodgers and then go to college, or did I go to college and then play for the Dodgers? So I knew exactly what I wanted to do at a very, very young age, and had the great high school coach that was actually a former Dodger himself in the minor league system, and actually a running back for the 49ers, Al Endress, and it was just a great inspiration. Great inspiration for me to carry me through my high school years and then on to the professional level. So, I was blessed to have, people around me that loved the game, that taught the game well, and I was someone who, I had enough talent to get to where I got.
Now, in your younger years, let me ask you, did you collect baseball cards, comic books? Who did you idolize growing up in baseball?
I did collect baseball cards, and they disappeared. I don't know what happened to them, but someone grabbed them out of my childhood home one day. But I remember some very, very valuable cards that I had, Willie Mays rookie cards and things like that. And I remember Lou Alcindor, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar later. I had his rookie card and went to look for them one day, and they were gone. So someone realized the value and certainly overstepped their boundaries by taking them. But no, I loved collecting baseball cards, and it was a great passion of mine. Just to go down to the local pharmacy and get a package of Topps baseball cards, open them up, and hopefully the gum wasn't too stiff, but a lot of times it was. But those are great memories.
All right, so let's talk about 1978. You were drafted ahead of Cal Ripken Jr. by the Royals, 25th overall pick. Take us back, if you can, to that moment or feeling you experienced in 78 when you knew you were going to get drafted.
Yeah, it was a remarkable day. I received a call early morning from John Sherholtz, who is now in the Hall of Fame, was general manager of the Royals and the Braves. John was the farm director for the Royals at the time, and I got a call at about 7 or 7:30 in the morning, and I was upstairs in my room. I had a phone in the room, and I picked up the phone, and he said, "Buddy, this is John Sherholtz." My mother picked up the phone right around the same time, and John said, "We're headed into the draft, and if you're still available, we're picking 25th. We're interested in taking you first, and, are you interested in signing?" And my mother immediately said, "No, he's going to college." And I said, Mom, I've got it. Please hang up. And so I told John, if all things are right, I'd be interested in signing. And so they took me in the 25th pick. I was taken ahead of Cal Ripken and went ahead and, it took a while for me to sign my contract, but I think it was mid-July by the time I got down to Florida to begin my professional career at a very young age. But it was a very exciting day. And, I thought I was going to be drafted like the third or fourth round. So when I got the call in the morning, I was like, whoa, are you kidding me? First round. And then, it actually happened, and it was really, really an amazing day in my life.
Well, it's got to make you feel good now. I mean, Cal Ripken Jr., Hall of Famer, drafted ahead of him. So it really, it must be a good feeling now to look back at that experience.
It's a good feeling for me. I'm not sure it's a good feeling for the scout who drafted me ahead of Cal, but it was, it was quite an honor. And again, obviously going into the draft, I didn't know who Cal was, but we played against each other quite a bit in the minor leagues and the major leagues, and he certainly had a much better career than I did, and well deserved of all his accolades by all means.
Yeah, and I did some research on your career, buddy. Your first debut game was September 12th, 1982. What do you remember most about that, that time in your life, 1982? Did the boys in the clubhouse welcome you with open arms back in 1982?
Well, I'd known a lot of the guys because I'd been in spring training. And 82 in September was my first call-up. And I'd never seen, at the time, Royal Stadium, now Kauffman Stadium, and I'll never forget driving along I-70, and all of a sudden I came upon the stadium, and I don't know if you've ever seen that view, but you look down from the highway, the interstate there, down to the stadium. It's an amazing view, and I was like, completely blown away that, I was, being called to the major leagues, and and I did get in a game on September 12th, I think, if I recall. It was a game against Minnesota. It was somewhat of a blowout, and I went in to play some defense in the ninth inning, and the first hitter up hit me a ground ball at shortstop, and I made the play. So it was very, the first day in the major leagues for someone who's always wanted to play in the major leagues is quite an experience.
We're talking to one of the most beloved Kansas City Royals, Buddy Biancalana. Buddy, 1985, I would say, was monumental point in your career because of two reasons. You played in the World Series, and you made an appearance on David Letterman. So let's start with the first question. How was the experience you felt playing in the World Series?
Well, it was amazing. I never could fathom playing in a World Series. Even though as a kid I wanted to play in the major leagues, and even when I was playing in the major leagues, I could never fathom playing in a World Series. It was one of those things in life that just kind of never crosses our minds because it's like too big an event, and we think it's, something for someone else to do. And but all of a sudden, I found myself sitting in my locker before Game 1 of the World Series, and I was very, very nervous, but went out and I played really the best baseball of my whole life. I had a zone experience in which everything just slowed down, and I wasn't thinking, and my motion was very fluid and effortless. The timing was perfect, and it was a feeling, Brian, of really not being able to do anything wrong, even if I tried. It was like this force had overtaken me, and so it was. I was told I, received the most votes for a position player for MVP. Brett Saberhagen won the award, rightfully so. He had a great series and great season, won the Cy Young that year. But it was that zone experience that was just so amazing for me. It led me to what I do now. I teach athletes in many sports how to get in the zone. So 18 months later, after the World Series, I was out of the major leagues because I didn't realize what had happened in my mind that allowed me to just experience the game as slowing down, not thinking in fluid, effortless motion, and for my full ability to rise to the surface. I hit 78 points higher than my career average, and I played airless at shortstop, and every ball hit me right in the sweet spot of the glove, and every throw came out of my hand like butter off a hot knife. And it was just an amazing, amazing experience that was life-changing in many, many ways for me. It sent me searching for these certain processes in the brain that take place when an athlete's playing their best and that I now teach.
Yeah, I mean, you batted .278 in that series, on-base percentage of .435, and an important Game 5 winning RBI, which led your team to victory. So, like you mentioned, you were definitely in the zone. And it seems like reading about your career, being in the zone is something that you always had, an affiliation with, or something that you wanted to pursue later on, huh?
Well, yeah, it's nothing that I wanted to pursue, but it was, one of a life event that was life-changing. That, when you have an experience like I had in the World Series, and you're, a member of a World Series team, and then out of the big leagues 18 months later, and then I had injuries and health challenges, you kind of go searching for what the heck happened, and just to try and feel better. So, that search led me to a lot of great information, healing, and learning about the brain-body connection, and some great teachers that I've worked with. And now I do a lot, I do a lot of work on the PGA Tour with professional and amateur golfers, and Major League Baseball with as well as amateur baseball players, and I've worked with athletes in 12 professional sports, and so it's a missing link in sports. That we all know the mental game is important, and we certainly know the physical is important, but it's the link that links those two together that's the missing link that I teach. So it's been very gratifying, and I love what I do, and I'm just blessed to be able to make a living at what I love to do and help people.
Yeah, now, buddy, like you mentioned, being in the zone, would that be the same as like being in the flow? Because there's been a lot of books written on being in the flow, getting into the flow. Is that something psychologically that happens when you like how does one get into that psyche of getting into the zone or getting into the flow?
Well, the flow and zone are different.
Is that something that happens naturally in your psyche? Yeah,
it's not so much a psyche, but it's just the brain-body connection and based on neuroscience. And the zone and flow are a bit different. I just did a video. It's on YouTube. If people go to my name and then go to Zone Motion, they'll see the video on. I did the zone versus the flow. And the flow is a wonderful state where things just, are working easier for us, and there's very little effort, and you just feel very, very aligned to what it is you're desiring and your ability to achieve it. But the zone is a state like that, but in which the mechanics are very, very important. So the brain-body connection is a two-way street. The operating system to the muscles is in the brain, but if the body is not in the proper position based on physics, the proper angles, it really doesn't matter what state the brain is in. The athlete is still not going to be able to achieve consistency in a healthy manner. So it's putting the brain in the right state and the mechanics based on physics with the proper angles. That is the zone, and that's what I teach with Zone Motion. It's a little bit different than the flow, but it's similar.
Now, what's your opinion on meditation? Because, meditation has become so popular here in the United States. The mindfulness, deep breathing meditation before a big game, before a big event. Do you believe in that?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, meditation is a great tool because it just allows the mind to settle down and access a quieter state and generate intention from that quieter state, which is just a much nicer way to live our life and better able to be in a peaceful state. And I don't think there's ever been a better time on this planet to be in a peaceful state than right now. I think it's really, really important that people stay settled and with all that's going on.
Now, I want to get back to 1985, buddy. America fell in love with you because you appeared on David Letterman. What was the fascination Letterman had with you, buddy? Your good looks, your performance. What was the fascination?
Well, I appreciate the compliments, Brian. But so let's see. I was told that one of his writers was at a game in Boston and saw me talking to some fans and saw my last name and, just thought I was a guy that they could have a little fun with. And people have told me, my name has been very, very catchy. So it was, in August of 85, I was kind of in and out of the lineup, and Pete Rose was chasing Ty Cobb's hit record, and Letterman thought it would be fun to, kind of tongue-in-cheek, say, hey, there's somebody else, a young player chasing Cobb's record as well. It's Buddy Biancalana, and he had this blue hit counter that had a picture of Pete Rose and with 4,000 something hits underneath his name, and had a picture of me with 50 major league hits at the time, I believe is what it was. And so every now and then on the show he'd bring out the hit counter and say, let's check the box scores and see how the race for the Cobb's record going. And Pete had a hit, and Buddy had a hit, and he'd hit the hit counter and it'd go to 51 hits. And it was fun. I remember getting a lot of calls about it. I didn't see the show when he first brought it out, but the media ate it up, and they even called my mother and said, "Are you offended that David Letterman is poking fun at your son?" And she said, "Well, not really. If it were a higher rated show, I would be." So he loved that. It was very, very funny. My mother was very, very innocent, very naive, and so it's a very, very, very funny comment. But it led to we ended up getting in the playoffs against Toronto, and then the World Series against St. Louis. I had a good World Series, and it led to me going on the show, which was really a fun experience, and it was a good time.
Now, I don't know if this is true. Were you anticipating on going on Johnny Carson? It was between Carson and Letterman?
Well, Carson actually owned both shows, and they gave me the choice to go on either Carson or Letterman, and I chose Letterman because of the connection there. He was the one who was doing the hit counter gig, and Brett Saberhagen went on Carson. So I just felt like it was better for me to go on Letterman.
Yeah, and on that show, I recall Letterman giving you the hit machine. Do you still have that hit machine?
I do have the hit machine. Yeah, I've had it. I don't know. You might know the value of it. I don't know, but I do have the hit counter.
Yeah, I was going to say it's a good piece of TV and sports memorabilia. And you also gave Letterman a bat signed, right?
I gave Letterman a signed autographed bat. I did, yeah.
Now, reading back in 1987, you were suffering with some back injuries. Is that really what led you to retiring?
It did. I retired. I spent the entire year of '89 on the disabled list, and that was the end of my career. Doctors wouldn't release me to play, but the back's in great shape these days. I got a lot of help, and I'm blessed to be very, very healthy.
Buddy, you miss playing the game?
No, I don't miss playing the game, but I'm so involved in sports now with what I do, and not just am I helping athletes on the field, but what I do has a profound effect in the classroom for student athletes, and just kind of an overall better sense of well-being because of accessing what I call the alpha theta state of the brain. We actually see an increase in serotonin and oxytocin, two feel-good chemicals. So along with achieving your outer desire of performing better, people are able to achieve their ultimate desire of feeling good, which is why we do anything in life. So it's extremely gratifying. It's the most rewarding thing I've ever done in my life, and I'm just grateful to be able to help a lot of people and do what I love. It's wonderful.
And you also authored a book, 7 Secrets of World-Class Athletes. Can you talk a little bit about that? How did the book come about, and why you decided to write it?
Sure. I co-authored the book with Stephen Yellen, The 7 Secrets of World-Class Athletes, and Stephen and I both had own experiences, and we got together, and it made sense for us to co-author the book. And it's basically the 7 secrets that what's taking place when athletes playing their best, and one is that there's an inverse relationship between strong intention and execution, meaning what it is you intend to execute. In order to give you the best chance to execute it, you cannot strongly intend to execute it, which sounds rather interesting, right? But that's how it works. Anytime our attention is on the outer desire, the biomechanic, or the desire to get the hit or hit a good golf shot, it creates a muscle imbalance. And I've done 4 studies now on zone motion in the brain and how it works. So it's regarding the injury epidemic in baseball, that any time the mechanic becomes a priority, there's going to be a muscle imbalance. And so as our industry has figured out, the best mechanics to not only throw a pitch, but to keep us healthy, but not understanding how the brain functions, they've gone to teach these mechanics, and injuries have skyrocketed in the Tommy John surgeries. So it's all because the brain is the operating system, the muscles, and if it's not the priority for the athlete, to some degree it's just kind of rolling the dice and hoping for his best motion to show up, as opposed to aligning with certain processes of the mind to allow that motion to just to be there. Because you ask 100 athletes in any sport how they felt when they played their best, and if they take the time to really think about it, they will typically describe the experience in 3 ways. One is that everything slowed down, they had more time. 2, they weren't thinking, they were just reacting. And 3, that their motion was more fluid and effortless, and the timing was really good or even perfect. And so if that's what's taking place when you're playing your best, it would only make sense for it to be the priority. And so that's what we do with zone motion. We make that the priority, along with the proper mechanics based on physics, and a lot of wonderful things happen.
And for our West Coast listeners and my hobby listeners, where can they purchase this book?
The 7 Secrets of World-Class Athletes is available on Amazon. And then I'm available. I work with athletes in many different sports, amateur and professional athletes, and they can find me through zonemotion.com. I've got video on YouTube, a couple videos on YouTube. They can follow me on Twitter at Biancalana. I'm not real active.
And the final question. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just saying I'm not overly active on social media.
A final question for you, buddy. What would you say to people who suffer from like panic attacks, anxiety, social anxiety? Any quick recommendations you can share on getting into the zone, overcoming some of these ailments?
Well, I'm not a doctor, but meditation is wonderful. Breathing, making sure the diet's good, and taking time to be with yourself out in nature is very, very helpful to settle the mind and settle the body.
All right. So final words. So what have you been doing now? What are you doing on your time? Your leisure time. What's been going on in the life of Buddy Biancalana besides Zone Motion?
Yeah, I do a lot of yoga. Yoga's been wonderful for me in healing my body from my playing days. I've still got a few aches and pains from throwing a million baseballs, and so I do a lot of hiking and yoga and things like that and I do a lot of reading and just kind of, I'm enjoying life. I'm blessed.
Well, listen, I appreciate your time. I appreciate a few minutes and, being on the air and having, the audience listen to you, popular Royal player and, World Series champion. So I appreciate your time.
Appreciate you having me on, Brian. Thank you. And good luck to you. It's great what you're doing with all your card business. 35 years you've been at this, I see, right?
35 years. And
wow.
If you ever want to, sell that hit machine, just give me a call. Maybe we can negotiate.
Okay. Sounds great.
Take care of yourself.
Good luck to you. Yes. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye. So that was Buddy Biancalana, former World Series champion, played for the Royals. And I tell you, you have to check out that skit that Letterman did in 1985 with Buddy Biancalana. It was pretty interesting. It was during the same year that Pete Rose was going after Ty Cobb's hit record. And, I wanted to ask Buddy, I forgot to ask him if he ever felt annoyed about that. But, it was a skit that Letterman did with Biancalana, because Biancalana was hot in that World Series. Great World Series performance. As he mentioned, Buddy said he was in the zone. And his website, again, we can mention it here, zonemotion.com. And if you look at zonemotion.com, there's testimonials from coaches, athletes, doctors, and trainers, and some of the athletes that gave very positive feedback and very positive testimonials were George Brett, the great Royal hitter, New York Yankees Ottavino, Jeremy Affeldt of the San Francisco Giants. They all gave positive feedback on this zone motion, positive way of being in the zone during your performance. So it's really a great website to check out. Please check that out. And also, as Buddy mentioned, a book that is a must is the 7 Secrets of World-Class Athletes, which can be purchased on Amazon. And as Buddy mentioned, he co-wrote. And it's really, like Buddy had a great series, batted, like I mentioned, 278, OBP of 435, and game 5 winning RBI, which led to the Royals to victory. And he really became in 85 not only because of his performance in the World Series, but also he became really America fell in love with Buddy. They really did. And I remember as a kid watching that Letterman show in 85, 73, 83. I was 12 years old. And I remember watching that show. And Buddy, he's very, good looking guy. And, really was the face of baseball, I would say, in 1985. So I appreciate his time coming on. And again, we'll mention the website, zonemotion.com. And it's interesting, Buddy was a baseball card collector when he was young. He had, as he mentioned, Lou Alcindor's rookie card and Willie Mays' rookie card from 1951, 52, Willie Mays. So very valuable items that Buddy had in his collection way back when. And it was great to hear his voice, and I appreciate his time. And we're going to do this again next week. So I thank everyone for tuning in, and we'll see you next week. Happy collecting to all.